Shalom. I just want to make a quick video about the discussion of Paul again, exposing his articles. This is one of the articles, and it's talking about they're discussing the discussion of Genesis 15 and 6. And this article I found on the website I've been researching, and this is probably going to be part 3, I think. I think it's part 3 about Paul's teachings, and this is really interesting that I was reading and I was listening to my music earlier on YouTube, so I'm gonna read this article, and you can check this link right here if you want, if you have the site, and it's called yahuwah.org. Okay, back to the drawing board. I am backtracking from the translation in my last post after comparing the grammar of the other Hebrew examples. The Hebrew verb translate as it took, counted, inputted, etc. And it's in the H2. It's in the H2803. Often has a to unto. Often has a to unto for against. Something associated with it as it him in Genesis 15 and 6. Compare Genesis 50 and 20 where ye thought. H28 H2803 against me evil, but Elam meant it suffering imposed on Joseph for good. Compared also Leviticus 17 and 18 with reckoning unto him, or reckoning the money unto him. Okay, you see the YHWH they're saying, and Genesis 15 and 6, and it's talking about Abram, and Abram trusted in YHWH, known as Yahuwah. A lot of people call him Yahweh or Yahweh, but those names are clearly false because I researched it. They said those are not the accurate names. I researched it on a blog that someone wrote, so But back to this, and he Yahuwah counted it and Abram's trust to him. Abram as righteous, justice of the character conduct. He said as righteousness, but it meant, like on the parentheses, says justice or of character and conduct. Genesis 50 and 20. But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass as it is this day, to save much people alive. That's right. At Leviticus 17 and 18, they're clarifying this, and it's an article. But if he sanctify his field after the Jubilee, then the priest shall reckon unto him in money according to the years that remain, even unto the year of the Jubilee, and it shall be abated from thy estimation. And they saying this is getting interesting. The Septuagint version quoted by Paul and James is different from the Hebrew, but seems to have the same meaning. And in the parentheses it says less than the name with the change in the grammar. All right. And he and Abram trusted God, and it Abram trusted was reckoned to himself, Abram, as righteousness. The important point to Doug brings out is that Abram's conduct is being condemned in this verse, as James implies in James chapter 2. Paul, on the other hand, Paul, on the other hand, says that it was not Abram's conduct works, but his belief, mental assent that was critical. Remember James asserting that the demons believe and tremble. Romans 4 and 1. What shall we say then Abraham our father as pertaining to the flesh hath found? And verse 2. For if Abraham were justified by works, he hath whereof to glory, but not before God. And verse 3. For what saith the scripture? For what saith the scripture? Abraham believed God, and it was counted unto him for righteousness. And here's the fourth verse. Now to him that worketh is rewarded, not reckoning of grace, but of debt. And the fifth verse, and it goes down to the eighth verse. Okay, I'm gonna read the sixth verse, and I'm gonna read the fifth verse. Okay, above that, fifth verse. But to him that worketh not, but believe on him that justifies the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness. Even as David, here's the sixth verse. Even as David also describeth that the blessedness of the man unto whom God imputeth righteousness without works, saying, blessed, and the seventh verse says, saying, blessed are they whose iniquities are forgiven, and for whose are sin covered. And the eighth verse says, blessed is the man to whom the Lord will not impute sin. And it goes on. Paul goes on to quote from Psalms 32, but he conveniently stops before getting the works part in verse 5. One following YHWH's commands, and that that's in Yahuwah. But that's in the Hebrew word, and a lot of people keep calling him Yahweh, but that's not his name. That's in Paleo Hebrew. It's not accurate. They always keep using the son's name, and that's a Christian doctrine that they're trying to promote. And to me, that's false, because I don't follow that. Because I used to be a Christian. That's take me back to Christianity. So they're nothing but junkies of conspiracy theory. That's all they are. Commands would be concerned about confessing transgressions of the commands. And here's Psalms 32 verse 1, and a psalm of David. Mashkel, blessed is he who those transgress is forgiven, whose sin is covered. And here's the second verse. Blessed is the man unto whom the Lord imputeth not iniquity, and whose spirit there is no guile. And the third verse. When I kept silence, my bones waxed old through my roaring all the day long. And the fourth verse. And for that day and night thy hand was heavy upon my moisture is turned into the drought of summer. And Selah. And the fifth verse. I acknowledge my sin unto thee, and my iniquity I've not hid, and I said I will confess my transgressions unto a lot of people say unto the Lord. And the Lord, you know what that means, Yahuwah. And thou forgavest the iniquity of my sin, Salah. And as we study Messiah's James's words, I won't read this again. As we study Messiah and James' words, we see the lies of Paul. That's right, the lies of Paul. Hi, Tom. Someone wrote, and his guy named, and I think Tom wrote this article, and someone read his article, and they explained about Paul lying. Hi, Tom. I read through the post on this thread, and I feel the need to offer the alternative explanation. I suggest more than one construction over the past several days. Most recent one, and he said one is most recent. He, Abraham, trusted in HWH. Okay, reckon if Abraham, he's using that scripture. Okay, I just read that. And two, previous on your evidence. Here's how I see the first part of Genesis 15. Verse 1, he introduced himself for order of business, talking about Yahuwah. And Abraham, in the second verse and the third verse, say Abram's voice is concerned, respond with promise. But the narrator notes that Abram responds correctly to promise that the Yahweh commands in him for his right response, justice of character, and the conduct. C. Davison, the Analytic Hebrew and Chaldee. They said the analytic. Okay, hold on. It says the analytic. They said C. Davidson, the analytic Hebrew and Chaldee Lexon and Zondervan. Chaldee Lexon Zondervan. 19. Hold on. Zondervan and 1981, page 60. 1981, page 640. Uh-oh. 640 and 13 lines down. Oh, it's getting blurry. Okay. Okay, my fault. I did something to it. My fault. There you go. Verse 7, he introduced the next order of business. I can see both of the constructions making sense, having Abram being the subject twice in verse 6 to make the verse easier to diagram, but having YHWH as the subject in the second half, given the verse talking about Yahuwah. And feel of the summary, the first order of business, that Yahuwah is the righteous, is given to the righteous response by Abram, and is what is noted that is they can perceive the next order of business. This is where I am. I don't see a problem with number 1, but Deuteronomy 6:25 and shall he pulled a scripture out on him. Deuteronomy 6:26, and it shall be our righteousness if we observe to all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as he hath commanded us. And his name is Carl. So he made a good description right here. And this is Paul's here, and I think this is part 3. And there's an article. Okay. Sorry about that. It was blurry. I did something with the camera on my phone. And Balaam and Paul, the evidence of parable between Balaam and Paul. It's a lot of good stuff on here. Evidence Paul claimed not to be lying is false. Okay. Here's another one. Balaam parable. Let's see. This is another good one. This is another good article I mentioned about Paul's teachings. Okay, Balaam was a soothsayer. Who was hired by Moab to curse Israel. This is a good one. This is a good article. Y'all need to read this. It's on Yahuwah.org. If y'all check that out, and Brother Elder Young, he should too. But this is good if you want to get the history. Balaam, Baal, like Balaam, Balaam was a soother who was hired by Moab to curse Israel, yet who portrayed to YHWH, known as Yahuwah, and was told to bless Israel instead. Numbers 22 and 23. On his way to Moab, the angel of Yahuwah stood in his way to oppose him. Balaam is the companions had a road to Moab experience. In this experience, Balaam found out that he was unjustly persecuting his donkey, and I said, I have sinned. Balaam ended up blessing Israel several times to dismay for those who had hired him. And that is right. It's a good article. And this is about Paul as well. However, the next time we hear of Balaam, he is slain with the Midianites, Numbers 31 and 8. We found out later in the chapter, behold, these caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Balaam to commit trespass against Yahuwah in the matter of Peor, matter of Peor, and there was a plague among the congregation of Yahuwah, and Balaam was converted and blessed, yet fell away, and caused the children of Israel to commit transgression against Yahuwah in Numbers 31:16. We have to go to the New Testament to find out more specifically what sins were involved in Balaam's reference. See, that's what they're saying, and this is a good article. Let's go in the New Testament and what they said in reference to Paul and Jude in Revelation. 2 Peter and Jude in Revelation. The verse with the most information is in Revelation. That's right, and it is in Revelation. Revelations 2:14. But I have a few things against thee, because thou hast there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed and unto idols, and to commit fornication. Who in the New Testament could the Messiah have been warning us against the would-be type Balaam? Paul unjustly persecuted the Messiah had a conversion experience on the road to Damascus, and initially spoke to the words of Yahuwah. A lot of people call him Yahweh, but it's really Yahuwah. And we need to take this parable further and see that Paul made statements to affect the fornication, the eating foods and offered to idols are lawful to him, yet not expended. This is clearly understood by mainstream evangelical Christianity. That's right. Look at evangelical Christianity. He created evangelical Christianity. Who created that? Apostle Paul, known as false Apostle Paul now, because we got the truth now, and we can read this article all day. And it says in 1 Corinthians, and I don't even have to get my Bible for this. I can read what 1 Corinthians say. I don't know what Bible they're using. 1 Corinthians 6:12. All things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expended. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. He's being sarcastic right there. And then here's 1 Corinthians 8:7. Howbeit there is not in every man that knowledge, for some with the conscience of the idol unto this hour eat it as the thing that unto idol, and at their excuse me for their slack again, in conscience being weak, conscience of being weak is defiled. And 1 Corinthians in the 8th verse, but meant to cometh us not of God, for neither if we eat are we the better, neither if we eat not are we the worse. There he goes again. And I fully realize, here's what this person say, I fully realize that many who read this, that the Torah is not done away with. Read this. I fully realize that many who read this know that the Torah is not done away with and interpret Paul in that manner. However, I am saying that as Paul came with signs and wonders, that's right, came with signs and wonders, but we are not to automatically accept him. And what I see happening is too many that too many accept Paul's gospel and reject the words of the Messiah. That's right. And Paul is a main reason why we go along teaching Christianity. The Israelites teaching Christianity, those groups are teaching the Paul gospel. They're teaching you that Jesus Christ had sex and Yahushua had sex. And this article clearly says he created evangelical Christianity and the Roman Empire, because he was part of Rome. He was known as Saul. So there's more evidence out here. And this article said it on below here. Let's go to Deuteronomy 13:1. If there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, that's talking about Paul, known as Saul the Tarsus, dreamer of dreams, and giving it to thee a sign or a wanderer. And the second verse, and the sign that the wonder can come to pass wherever if he spake unto thee, saying, let us go after the other gods, which thou hast not known, and let us serve them. Deuteronomy 13:3, thou shalt not hearken unto the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for Yahuwah your God prove you to know whether ye love Yahuwah your God with all your heart and with all your soul. That's right. And here's Matthew 24:24, and I can kind of paraphrase what it's saying. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets shall shew you great signs of wonders, and in so much that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. That's right. And I can paraphrase that if I want to, but that's a long time to paraphrase that. That's hard to memorize that. Romans 15:9. Through mighty signs and wonders by the power of the Spirit of God, Spirit of power, known as Spirit of God, so that from Jerusalem and around about unto Illyricum, I think it's Illyricum, about unto Illyricum, I have fully preached the gospel of Christ. And that's in Romans 15:19. So I hope y'all get this and understanding that this is Paul's article on the Balaam parable. And I will read this parable. And this is the one I've been wanting to get to. And this is part of part 3. And I'm going to read another article that they're exposing Paul, that Paul wasn't right. And that's a further note. And I will make another one about him lying and false and all that, the last 3. So I'm making a Paul series out of this one. So I hope this video bless y'all to see that Paul, and I was just reading, and I'm going back to this again, the Balaam parable. And if y'all see this again, this is based off him and Moab and all this series in these scriptures right here. So may Yahuwah bless y'all many times. Get prepared for the end times and the war, and exalt his name forever and ever. And may bless you many times. And all I have to say is Shalom.